All right, welcome back to the Dust Storm, a D&D short D&D campaign brought to you by Ethos Studios. I'm Ben Molini, also go by Arbor here, and we have Kira with us as well as Ranch, who are playing Shamara and Orden, and we're gonna jump right into the story here, so we can just get going. And so let's begin with a quick recap, saying when last we left our heroes. They were at an inn, I think, or what once was an inn. It certainly seems like. You'd spent kind of a tumultuous day yesterday in a pretty bleak and desolate wasteland, which is what remains of a lot of the world. And other than just cold and dust and wind, there wasn't really much, but fortunately, there wasn't much beyond those things to threaten you. But the gloom had suddenly swelled, and you had realized that behind you, precipitously close all of a sudden, was a towering and extremely violent looking dust storm bearing down on you. So you'd hurried up as best you could, just pushing ahead down the road toward what you had heard referenced before, just say some kind of inn or way station or something that obviously predates the cataclysm that has so broken the world. And instead of finding that way station, the first thing you ran into was a dwarf who seemed to be fighting for his life. He was fending off a couple of creatures which were pretty obviously animated by the energy of the Archon, which everyone in this world is unfortunately familiar with, and most are rightly terrified of. But these were some kinds of strange monstrosities that you had managed to help this dwarf fight off, and really, I mean, with the storm bearing down on you in real time, you had to do your best to help. Even once you defeated the creatures, try to find some shelter. Fortunately, you guys had just managed to make it to this place called the Starlight, and to throw open the doors and get in there with uh, the dust storm raging and howling outside. And this place, old and sturdy and made mostly of stone, with a towering fireplace in the far end, which is actually flickering merrily as the three of you come in, uh, exhausted, more than a little bit frightened, I would imagine, and in Shamara's case in particular, somewhat heavily wounded. But you guys have just tumbled in the door and managed to shut both the doors behind you, and were collecting yourselves as two men who were sitting at a table across the common room here from you, um, look up from cups of something that they have in front of them. They both just turn curious stares toward the three of you as you fight the doors shut. Um, and there's a bit of an awkward pause as the room is suddenly enveloped in quiet. What are you guys doing?
Just a cloud of dust, I imagine. It comes off my
Mm.
clothes, kind of beating it out and looking around.
Oh,
Then
those dogs. Whatever, dead dogs. What beast?
The dwarf, who had actually kind of stumbled to the ground, gets to his feet, peering over the table at the other two occupants of the room here. Just glances at them for a moment, and looks back at Ranch. He says, "I think beasts might be generous. They're some sort of monstrosity, sort of crab-legged things, without
not
even the
living.
decency to have crab's legs."
They're as bad as the undead.
"Hello, well met," he says, just looking across the room. The two gentlemen there are pretty different from one another in appearance, and one of them is uh, kind of a broad, dark-skinned fellow. Um, he's got he's sitting at a table. He's looking at him side on. He has what might almost be described as a bit of a paunch, which is certainly a remarkable thing in these times when the sky is so filled with dust that crops don't grow. Food is extraordinarily scarce. But he's got close set, kind of black eyes, heavy brow, and despite the gut, he's just got a pretty big, stocky frame. And there is a cudgel that's on the bench next to him at that table, but he doesn't reach for it, at least not yet. The other guy is his opposite number in many ways, not completely, but he has very pale skin, very dark hair, and he's looks like he's tall. Although sitting down right now, it's hard to say exactly how tall. But he has kind of an angular frame, gray-white eyes, and has a very well-appointed and quite clean suit, like fine suit, black over white. And there's a top hat on the table next to him, as well as a rapier that looks small enough to be mostly decorative, presumably. That is taken out of a sword belt and just sat on the bench on his side. So they each have looks like a metal cup in front of them, probably just tin or something similar, and they regard you guys evenly for a moment as your dwarven companion hails them. After a moment, the
kind of like lets out a short sigh and gives her most winning human smile and wave.
Okay, gotcha. All right. The one in the suit, who's kind of looking over his shoulder at you, he says, "Hello. We did not expect to see other travelers.
We did
Is there a
not
storm?"
expect to see starlight.
Okay. Is it starlight? That's. The guy gets to his feet. The one in the suit, anyway, and he, picks up his hat, puts it on, and just slides the rapier, still sheathed, but slides it through a loop on his belt where it would go. And he doesn't approach you guys, but he just gets up, kind of tugs his clothes straight, and then he gives you a somewhat formal half bow. Be welcome, insofar as I am able to grant a welcome, to the Starlight. Here in your time of evident need. I am Vuzaz. This is Engrog. The guy, the darker fellow, just sitting down, forearms still on the table, looking at you guys. He nods, just an acknowledgement. Just looks at you evenly.
Well met, well met. Yes, there was a hell of a storm actually following us. Big, black storm. I've never seen anything like it.
I can hear it, says the broader, darker fellow. And Engrog, I guess you would know his name to be. But we did not see it. And we were walking. The dwarf, he just kind of waves his hand in acknowledgement of that comment. And he says, "Hi. Came upon us quickly. I think it's an act of our enemy. Unfortunate to say." And he walks kind of carefully and a little gingerly around the table here, and stops near the edge of the hearth. There's a little metal, foot tall rail there, just like basically a footrest. And he holds out his hand toward the flames, which are still crackling merrily. And my name is Belnil. I don't know these two, not really. They helped me though. Helped me when I was under attack. And he looks back at Vuzaz and Engrog, but he says with the appropriate note of seriousness, attacked from archaic creatures, must be said. Don't know what to call them really, but obviously it was the Archon that was animating them. And I know there are more behind. I'm sorry to bear trouble with me, and he addresses that to both of you as well as to these other two. He says, but that's just what it is. I can only hope the storm will slow him down some.
These things, they blew up. I don't know how else to describe it. They self-destruct, spreading everything about them and destroying themselves and everything within close proximity.
I have heard this, Vuzaz says, with kind of a cultured tilt of his head. I have had the good fortune not to experience it. Is this what happens to that one? And he addresses the comment to Orden, but gestures at Shamara, who, has The dust has honestly kind of caked like some of the blood running down the side of her face to mud, um, and she's a little imposing anyway. But yeah, beaten and battered, and partially exploded upon as she is. She looked quite a sight.
She
And then-
tried not to show her weakness when she first got there and be polite, but after a minute of talking, she slumps heavily into this and just kind of like leans on the table with her elbows. And
I'll go ahead and nod, and then I'll ask him. Is it right if I help my sister here? She's quite in need.
Vizaz just makes a please yourself type of gesture, and he sits down again on the bench, but he only puts one leg over the side, so he stays kind of facing you guys. And he takes up his little tin cup in his other hand, and just with his elbow on the table, he continues inspecting you as you do. And he says, "I am not the one to tell you what you may or may not do in this place. The proprietor has apparently departed. It must be difficult, one imagines, maintaining a place such as this when there are no travelers."
who is the woman that greeted us? By the way, I'm Shamara. This is my brother Orden.
Shamara? Orden?
At this point, I'm gonna go behind Shamara and kind of like, if she's slumped over, try and like take some of the like her packaging off her Shamara, I don't know exactly what you're wearing, but take your backpack off, start taking off armor
Set my
pieces
shield
that I
down and
can,
stuff.
just to like get her in a place where we can hopefully clean her off at some point if they had those facilities. But
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
taking care of her, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Alright. In answer to Shamara's question, Vazaz, he kind of frowns and he goes very still. And then he says, "I'm sorry?" Belneil kind of glances between Shamara and him. He says, "Well, it was just a moment ago." And he like looks at Shamara for confirmation.
Sorry. What are we confused about?
You said, "Who was the woman that greeted us?"
Oh.
And Vazaz said, he begged your pardon, and Belneil is looking kind of like you are, like, what the fuck, man? It just happened. Like, it was just a second ago.
Just like, okay. And, I don't know, set my pack down and get my water skin out and drink some water.
Belneil looks over, kind of, to the counter area back there, where, nobody's standing. And he...
Could you tell me, their names again? So the dwarf said that his name was...
Sorry, I'll go ahead and put him in the chat, because that's a little easier.
The dwarf is Belneil, and then you have Fazaz, who's the guy that we're main talking to, who's got like the suit on, and then Ingrog, who's like the heavier set guy.
Okay.
Did those come through? Sorry, I think they,
They did. For
Okay,
me, at least.
I don't know, grab it, so. Alright.
Not how I spell those names.
It's
Interesting.
fine.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
nice. It's good to see him spelled.
Yeah. Alright. So you, yeah, what do you know? Or I know what, Orden's doing, but,
So
You're
this dude
just-
acted like it was weird that I thought that someone said hello to us?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so this is a weird place.
your words.
That's what I guess she's thinking.
Sure. Alright. Well, Belneil has just, a very small satchel of his own. As I think I mentioned, that he takes off, over his shoulder, and just starts kind of propping some of his stuff up there, but he's staying a couple of steps nearer the fire than you guys are. And, I mean, it's just I wouldn't say toasty warm in there, but near the fire, it certainly is. Where you guys are, it's much warmer and certainly out of the wind than it had been, even aside from the storm outside. Just warmer and more pleasant than it had been on the road. But he obviously is eager to warm himself a bit more thoroughly, and just kind of turns his back to you guys as he, like, honestly leans even over that little rail a little bit just to kind of give himself maximum exposure to the fire. And he says into the fire, presumably directed toward Vuzaz, and he says, "So, did you build this fire then?" And Vuzaz glances across at his companion, who just looks down at his cup. And says, "I did." But leaves it at that. Vuzaz looks back at you guys and he says, "It is uncommon to encounter travelers on the road now, especially, well, those who are being antagonistic with the Archon. Where are you bound, if you permit me to ask?" He says, kind of remembering politeness at the end.
Definitely wasn't here. I'll tell you that. And meeting our friend here, didn't plan on that either. We're traveling towards a place. Was it Celis we were heading towards?
Hytos.
Hytos.
You're thinking of the last game.
Okay. We're headed towards this Hytos.
Yeah.
No real plans, no grand adventures. Just right now trying to survive.
Belneil kind of just looks at you in profile over his shoulder when you say that. As am I. Vuzaz looks at him and says, "For a purpose?" And Belneil just turns his head and looks back at Vuzaz and he says, "Aye." He looks back at the fire. Vuzaz kind of spreads his hands, then says, "We are just bound away from Hytos, in fact, but I hope you will find it pleasant and restorative. It's a beautiful city, poorly served by the present state of our world, but where is this not true? Are you hoping to transact commerce, perhaps, while you are there? We are merchants."
Have the right things, I suppose.
Hold him up. Could two questions. Were they both surprised about the innkeeper?
I mean, Vuzaz was the one who actually, kind of peered at you questioningly, but, I mean,
Okay.
whether Engrog was or not, which wasn't obvious. And actually, here, I think I can even make their names display here.
And then could I make, like, I guess I was not really paying attention to where she went at that time because we just, like, had survived getting here and everything. So
Sure.
we just kind of tumbled in.
Mhm.
But could I make, like, a wisdom check or something to see, like, to remember where she had gone?
Sure. Go ahead and make a wisdom check, and well, house rule there. I know raw ability checks usually on a d20, but for this kind of stuff, I often use a d12 just because it's not that much variability. Go ahead and make that roll.
Okay.
Yo, I'd like to sense motive on Fazaz.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would also love to sense motive.
Okay. And as you may remember, I roll the sense motive checks because you don't know how accurate or inaccurate your perception is. So what would your bonus be to that?
+4.
And mine is +2. but I don't know if you just want one person to do that at a time, which would make sense. Oh, but you can tell us privately.
I can.
This is a great. Foundry's great.
I like Foundry quite a bit. And a shout out for that, honestly, for anybody seeing this. Used a couple of virtual tabletop setups, but Foundry, virtual tabletop, can't say enough about it. And works great for our system, works great for standard Pathfinder, works great for whatever your system is. Modules you can download, rule sets to put in there. It's excellent.
I'm not throwing out any unpaid sponsorships.
Copy
So
that.
I'm waiting to get paid.
Yeah,
I'll-
your
I'll
opinion's
settle.
Yeah,
worth
that
something.
being said, that's how much we like it. Is they're not paying us. We just really
There you
like
go.
it.
That's true. We're just average everyday customers. You said your bonus was 2 there, Kira? On the sense motive?
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay. All right. There you go.
That's
Nice.
how I just whisper you, right?
You got it. Branch just wanted an opportunity to flex at the camera, so we'll give him his moment there.
Who can blame him?
I think that light may be a little bit better.
Yeah, that is good. Looks good, man. All right. So, he had asked you if you were. Oh, can you see it, Kira? And there's it's over here where there's a little
Okay.
lamp behind it.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I guess that part's not completely illuminated for you. It's over. It's shadowy over there to you.
Gotcha.
So. So. What are you doing?
Sorry, what had he asked?
Oh yeah. He asked about or he said they're merchants coming
Oh.
from Hytos.
So, and you know, a reasonably comfortable silence passes for a moment, as
So,
he just kind of looks at Engrog, just nodding in contemplation, as Orden had said. You know, they may or may not transact some business. You know, as it came up. So,
Was
fire
your time
crackles.
Was your time in Hytos well?
Vizaz makes an equivocal gesture with his head and says, "Oh, reasonably well. It is difficult for merchants to traverse the roads and the waste, but when they do, they are very well received. It is more risk and also more reward. I wonder if..." And he looks at Belniel and says, "You perhaps bear some word of your people?" Belniel just looks at him, still, you know, with his face turned toward the fire, and he says, "All the dwarven cities are closed. Everyone knows that. Everyone does, but no one knows why, or what is going on behind those closed doors. Were you shut out as well?" Belniel looks back at the fire and says, "Oh, I don't speak to their own kind neither. Everyone knows that as well." Zaz kind of takes that in stride. He puts his cup back down on the table and drums his hands, one alternately on the table and then on his leg, you know, a couple of times. And he looks at Angrog, and that guy just stares back at him. And Buzaz looks back over at the three of you. "Well, you may as well find yourself a room." And he gestures behind him. "Make yourself comfortable. By the sound of the storm, surely we will all be resting here for some time."
find ourselves a room.
There is no one to gainsay you, other than, of course, the rooms that Engrog and I have chosen for ourselves, but there are many doors.
When you talk to the owner of this establishment, what's the going rate for a night? I'd hate to not meet them at some point.
He shakes his head with a quick glance, kind of askance at Shamara. He says, "No, no. To my knowledge, this once fine establishment seems to be entirely abandoned. It is true that Engorog said he heard voices last night. Perhaps a woman's voice." He was glancing again at Shamara. "And, of course, it is well within the possibility that the proprietress still haunts this place as her shade. She would not be the only one to die in sad or violent ways. But we will hope this is not the case. We are not very well acquainted with necromancy, nor, unfortunately, whatever the answer to it might be. We hope to give no disrespect," he says, kind of to the rafters, "and to honor the use of this fine place as it was intended, and in fact used for many a year. So, we sit at the table, we keep to our room at night. We have passed one night here, just to rest. It seems we will pass another."
And speaking of not disrespecting the people who may have lived here before, where can I find the ale? Is that accessible? Is it there any around? Does that magically show up? How does that work here?
Vazaz just kind of shrugs and looks at his glass. Engrog, turns his head towards you, and he gestures over his shoulder toward the counter, and he says, "There are a couple of casks. More over there." And he points to the far corner, where indeed you see a couple of casks standing upright. It's hard to say whether there's anything in them or not, but, evidently there might be.
And well, however far I've gotten with taking care of Shamara, I'm just gonna stop, even if I'm like in the middle of something, and
Okay.
I'm fine.
Make a heal check, just real quick, for what you have been doing.
oh, never mind.
All right. Well, you hadn't done much, so as yeah, I mean, Shamara, like, he had helped you at least get your pack off, and kind of get situated, and he, had basically just been kind of wiping grime off of you and exploded viscera, which isn't nothing. I mean, doesn't maybe cure anything, but better than having
Certainly
it
helps
caked up
feel
on
better.
you. Yeah. All right. What are you doing there, Orden?
I'll head to the cask that he pointed behind him, assuming that one of those was open or something.
Okay.
And I will fill it up.
You should be able to move yourself, and your vision should go along with you.
I'll walk over here by the fire first.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. You were
Can
a
I
human.
make a ready
so
to
you're-
action to like move over there if anything weird happens?
Sure. Sorry. So, Orden, you actually, you can see a little bit when you get right up close, but overall, yeah, as a human, your vision doesn't pierce the shadows very well. So, but yeah, you get up there, and sure enough, I mean, you see like a ledger book that normally an innkeeper would use just to register that someone, had stayed there. There are what must be pages and pages of entries from, one imagines, years past. It's a very simple L-shaped counter, as you can see, with even like a cross-hatched in what's probably iron glass window behind that. That seems to be surviving pretty well and looks thick-paned and faintly frosted, perhaps with time. So it you can't see much out there, just besides a swirling, darkness. But when you get over there and kind of look under the okay, make a perception check, Kira. Yeah, you just kind of look over and kind of lean that way, and yeah, it looks like if this place served, food or drink, it must have been pretty modest. Oh boy, look at that, Kira. it must have been pretty modest when it happened. I mean, there are a couple of shelves there, which are now bare, and yeah, in point of fact, there is a what looks like an ale cask with a tap in it. There's like kind of two, I don't know what you'd call them, but like two little arms that's like a rack basically for it that's holding it off the ground, and the tap's just in the side, toward the lower end. It would be hard to tell if there's anything in there, but someone, perhaps, your co-patrons here, looks like they have very recently checked it or tapped it or replaced it or something, because there's a little bit of light brown liquid that is clung to the end, and just a drop or two that's on the ground, as if someone had just poured it, pulled a mug away.
I pour myself a drink.
Okay. Let's see. Kira is following you. I'm
Say about a 24 ouncer. Nothing too
Okay.
big, nothing too small, something in the middle.
just a tall boy. Let's see. I'm gonna change your token names to reflect your characters, because that's gonna help me a little bit.
Yeah. Makes sense.
There you go.
It's hard to say one name and look at another.
Right? Exactly. And I will make sure Belnail shows up. Alright. So, Kira, quick message to you. Shamara, is conspicuously just looking around, inspecting the room as she goes over there at your shoulder, Orden. Belnail doesn't move though, just still by the fire, soaking up the heat. So.
And I'll kind of yell back behind me as I'm filling up mine and go, "Dwarven friend, would you like a glass?"
Human friend. Suit yourself if they have one.
Cool.
Do you get him a glass?
Yep.
Alright. Cool. Yeah, there are little mugs on a peg, or mugs on pegs, plural, back there. So, yeah, you get a couple. They don't look like the metal ones that Engrog and Vizaz have, but they, yeah, just look like kind of conservatively sized ale mugs made of glass. So, yeah, fill a couple of those. Shamar, what are you doing?
I'll fill one for myself as well.
Okay.
Is there a door behind the counter?
There's not. There's a door right down there. Hopefully you can see that.
Okay.
But yeah, just a solid wooden door set into a pretty well-made, expertly masoned stone wall. No obvious lock on it or anything like that.
After that, I'm gonna grab the beers, and then I'm gonna go back to this table, just 'cause it's a little bit closer to the fire.
Sure.
Don't want to just crowd their space and everything, and then set the cups down.
Yeah.
Follow
And
him
then
after
just
I
take
get mine.
one nice long drink. Close my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, alright. So you set one down, take the other one. Shamar, what are you doing when he does that? You go sit down with him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, gotcha. Alright, so yeah, you guys go over there, quick toast, and it's beer. It's not some fungus-derived facsimile. Not something that was grown in a cave or a basement or in some unspeakably dirty location where a lot of the food, unfortunately, has to come from these days, as folk have gotten really creative with plants that don't require light or sunlight to grow. This was made from grain, which means it must have been made at least a few years ago. It's made from grain, fermented in clear water, and kept in a barrel. Made from a tree that had been alive recently when it was put in there. There's a little bit of oaky flavor in there, but mostly it's a small taste of the old world. Room temperature here, of course, is also somewhat chilled up until someone came along to light this fire. So it is a cold, clear, refreshing beer, the like of which neither of you have had in years.
As I kind of like take that first sip, you know, hey, you didn't pay for this beer. This is amazing.
Belneil kind of walks over when you. I presume you just set the other one like on the table, kind of within reach for some. Yeah. And so he he comes over and glances at you kind of skeptically, picks up his glass. Says, "Your health." It's good. And then he takes just a step back, still facing the group now, but as partially frozen people will do in front of a big fire, he just changes sides, pulls his cloak around in front of him, and lets the fire warm his back now, the way he had, spread his front to it before. And at that point, he also takes off his shield and just props it against the little rail there next to him. Looking invigorated already, and with his drink in his hand, he once again surveys the room a little more closely this time. Doesn't say anything right away. Jamara, you are sitting, what, here? Yeah, please readjust yourself however you want.
Yeah, I'm kind of sitting like straddling the bench, like with my back kind of to this wall, and then I can kind of see. She
Sure.
just does not feel very comfortable.
Okay. Yeah, no, I guess not. All right. So, there's just a companionable silence for a couple of moments, and Belneil looks back at the other two with his mug in his hand, and says, "So, what do you sell?" Buzaz smiles kind of charitably, and doesn't answer right away. Belneil kind of cocks his head and says, "I mean, it's got to be bloody valuable, doesn't it? Just times being what they are, to be on the road, particularly to go back onto the road over and over. You must be becoming rich men." Buzaz shakes his head, and he looks at Engrog, and Engrog looks up to Belneil, and he says, "We are selling information. Anything heavier would make us too slow to survive. That's all it takes. News of other places. Maybe small carried things." And Buzaz smiles, and he taps his suit jacket, and there is the noticeable, like, crunch of paper. He says, "It's not hard to bear a letter. And in times past, anyone could have done it. Now very few can do it. And of those who can, even fewer will. But this precious cargo, it's important to people. And it doesn't slow us down," he says with a smile. Engrog just nods his assent.
You need to be
Hey.
fast. You need to be good fighters to survive. You don't really look like fighting men.
Engrog shrugs. He says, "Fighting no good. Now, things the way they are, anything out there can fight better than we can. Better to run. Better to run quickly. It's okay. I like to run." Zaz smiles at him as if they're sharing a joke.
You're telling me you run. And I kind of look at Angrog, his physique, and I go, I mean no disrespect, but how do you run? How do you run that fast for so long? You have no animals to take you anywhere.
Animals are too much of a liability, he says. Pizzazz nods. He says, Engrog can move very well when the moment requires it, as I can myself. Yes, of course, you are guessing there is some magic involved. Yes, of course. Um, but just the simplest kind. We are not accomplished magicians. Just enough to move quickly, maybe to hide when things become too difficult. But often this is all it takes. What do you eat? Magic is an aid to us there as well. We could not support other people, but I am sure you have heard of magical ways of feeding oneself, even, if not others. Belnio, yeah, kind of shrugs. Heard of it. Thought it was a bit harder than just that, or more folk would have learned to do it. Vazaz kind of shrugs. We have been fortunate in our acquaintance. So there is a, just a brief, not uncomfortable pause as the fire continues to flicker merrily behind Belneil, and he just kind of nods and processing of what they said and takes another sip of his beer. What are you guys doing?
Taking a sip of my beer and just kind of. Does everybody think this is normal? Like.
Question: free place to stay and actual beer that's free. Might be afraid to find out why that is.
Yeah, I mean, it's beer. It's fucking beer. What a trip.
It is, sister.
Zaz kind of looks skeptically between you guys and Angrog. He says, I decline to partake. Angrog looks back at his companion and just fixes him levelly and says, I did not. He gives you guys a nod and takes a sip of what's presumably beer in his cup. A little while passes. Just, a couple of minutes go by. You hear the wind howling outside. Occasionally the general tumult will dim such that you can hear kind of the hiss and swish of dust and sand and grit and small stones being rasped along the stones of the building, and then the windows at both ends, which are just completely obscured by darkness and swirling dirt. Excuse me. There's even what sounds like a roll of thunder out there a couple of times behind it, but in general, there's just a pretty constant din, and occasionally the fire will, flare up as some draft makes its way in just the right way down the chimney to swirl the sparks around and just jump everything up. But you pass a little while just warming up and recovering and resting. Vazaz and Engrog seem perfectly content to sit, as you perceive they must spend a lot of their time in silence.
Oh, I'm cool with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna go check on rooms.
Okay.
So, are there more doorways besides the one we came in and the one to my left shoulder there?
Nope.
Also, how does one turn their character around?
You click on your character,
Uh-huh.
and then with the mouse still over them, hold Shift and scroll your mouse wheel.
Oh. Okay, so you click on it.
Hold the cursor over it once you've clicked on it, and then hold Shift.
Oh, I
And
see
there you go.
the mouse wheel. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Like that.
Go.
Vizaz. Which rooms are y'all's? I'd hate to barge in on those.
He turns. He says, through this door, we have the first and the second to your right. There are several more. The corridor does this, you see.
And you two are the only ones staying here, to your knowledge?
It would be difficult to hide. The latrine is end of the hall and to your left.
Thank you.
I'll go grab my stuff.
Pick up your things from behind the other table there and just gather them up. I presume not. Maybe putting them all back on like your pack and stuff.
And then on my way by, I'll just kind of like put my hand on Bill Neal's shoulder. I don't think we really have a choice but to stay here tonight. Not that
Suppose not.
it seems like a bad one. And I just kind of like cast a gaze around.
Not still. Seems nearly certain the place is haunted, though, doesn't it? And he addresses that just kind of the whole room and looks at Vizaz and Angrog, who shrug with Vizaz, makes a, yeah, you're probably right, type of gesture with his head. But he looks around and, as you say, though, no disrespect intended.
And no disrespect.
Bless the souls. We're all one. In the end.
And before kind of going down that hallway, because I think I'll be a little bit in front of Shamara, just turn back and say, you know, gentlemen, it was a pleasure meeting you. You have a good night.
You are in for the night, then.
Yes, I'll be in for the night.
Vizaz lifts his cup just in farewell. He says, well met. Travel safely if we do not speak tomorrow. And Grog, a little bit, more grimly, kind of gives you a nod and picks his glass up off, or his cup up off the table, if not, maybe raising it in a toast.
Good luck out there.
You as well. Okay. You guys can move yourselves.
Oh yeah.
I guess my stuff was probably sitting over here.
Mhm.
Um,
All right.
Now,
Belniel will.
was it back
walk
to the
over.
left, correct?
Can you
Like the door?
not see it? You should be able to see it and open it,
this
in
is a
fact.
door.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know
Yeah.
we could open it.
Okay, so
Belniel
that's
follows you.
not that first door, not that second door.
He shuts the door behind you. It's pretty dark in there. That's not a problem for Shamara, and evidently not for Belniel, but Orden, it's pretty tough. There's a faint amount of light that comes in just under the door, and from the torches and the fire in the other room, but you can see like your hand in front of your face, but it's just really silhouettes. It's hard to see much back here.
Well, I'll turn around real quick and kind of like place myself on the wall.
Okay.
Don't know. I've heard that you can see in the dark. Do you mind going
Oh.
forward?
Sorry, that was inconsiderate of me. It's just this way, and he kind of like reaches up and just grabs you by the back of the arm and steers you forward. I mean, you can see the things he's pointing out, but just kind of barely. And he says, "Turn to your left there. Oh, couple steps down. Directs you over this way. Shamara has found the latrine. Yeah.
Dude, okay, I thought Shamara was a dead body on the ground. I was like, why does it keep moving? And I was like, something bad's gonna happen. Alright. Shamara. Shamara.
Hey.
Shamar, you can see Orden is blinking around and doing the thing that humans do when they can't see at all in the dark and aren't conscious of being observed, where he's like,
Can you find me a fucking room?
You want the one right next to the shitter?
That's fine, I don't care.
Well, there's 3 in this hallway.
Well, will you guide me to one?
Yeah. So I'll take him to this one.
okay. Alright. I mean, Orden, do you have any, like, do you have lamp or torches or a candle or anything like that?
Yes, I do. I have torch. Yes, I have a torch.
Just curious.
Once I'm in there, can I go ahead and light that?
Yeah, then there's actually, I was gonna say, there's a candle on the little table there near the head of the bed. So.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, I'll deal with that then. That's fine.
Okay. Oops. Let me just. Here. There you go. So. All right.
Oh wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I'll leave my door open. I really like that. That's a really cool aspect.
Yeah. All right.
Still not giving a shout out to Foundry until I get paid, but yeah, it's really cool.
All right. Okay. So I mean, Shamar, you of course hear Orden kind of working to get the candle lit and just to light his torch and then use that to light the candle. But
There's a big room at the end of the hallway.
Shamara says, looming in your doorway.
I guess we'll just take the little ones and I'll stay in one.
How big of a room?
Like big enough for 2 people.
Is it?
Like, is it stuff in there?
Not? Oh, I guess it's not.
Thought you were talking about like a treasure room. Just a big room.
Yeah.
Just a big room. I have a hard time moving my character through this doorway. Oh, it's because it wasn't open. My bad.
There you go. Alright.
I'm gonna start
I'm in the room, one door to your left.
I'm gonna start derobing, taking stuff off. And then I want to spend time, obviously it'll take some time, but cleaning armor, cleaning my weapon, removing some of the grime as well as I can.
Okay. Shamar, what are you doing?
I will set my pack down in this room and come back out.
Okay. Belneil's just waiting in the hallway as you guys, pick your rooms out and just kind of get situated. And he, when you come back out in the hallway, he takes a couple of steps forward. He looks, a little grim. He has pretty much the whole time, but his red, braided whiskers shift a little bit, and what's probably a grimace from him. And he kind of comes into where he can see Orden, I presume, just kind of sitting down on the edge of the bed and starting to go through your equipment, and just check everything. And, sharing the hallway with Shamara's much larger form, he says, quietly, just looking at the floor kind of between you, he's just, without preamble, says, I need to get to Hytos. I need to. And then he looks up at Shamara first, and then Orden. And Shamara, you can see him pretty clearly. He just doesn't have a lot of color, with only a splash of light from the candle. Orden, you can see his silhouette and just his
I'll
eyes
close
when
my
they reflect the
door
candlelight.
and like put it in my shoulder and like bring him into Orden's room. But
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt your description of him. Like
It's fine.
the candlelight, I do want to hear that, please.
Oh, it's fine. I was just saying the ranch can only see his eyes when he's looking at him as
Oh.
they reflect the candlelight. Yeah.
Okay.
So you kind of usher him into the room.
Yeah.
By all means, come in. Of
Yeah.
course. Plenty of room for all of us.
Huh?
He, yeah, gets in there and kind of like shuffles off to the corner, where he, doesn't sit. He still has a shield on his back, but he,
I'll like sit on the
yeah.
floor to make it less awkward.
okay.
But not on the bed. Not on the bed.
It's like one of those, college dorm room parties, but even closer. Everybody, you guys all kind of crowd in there, and he sits down partially against the wall. Excuse me. And the little candlelight only shows like half of his face. And like I said before, he's, looks like he's wounded, but not badly, as he just bends a little carefully as he squats down, and then leans his back against the wall. And he looks back at the floor, just kind of between him and Shamara. He says, I don't know why exactly. I don't know if it matters when, but I get the sense that sooner's better. Thank you for helping me. Didn't think it would do anyone any good out there to explain it. I can't explain all of it. But the Archon's hunting me. I know that.
I think our friends in the main room are friends of the Archon.
You think so? He
I
looks
think
up
so.
with some alarm.
They're friends of the Argon?
I think so. I don't know, but I think that their word choices around our behavior they're surprised we're antagonizing the Archon, not just resisting the Archon.
Folk have all manner of thoughts on the
They
mad
don't have
god.
to eat.
Balneo kind of bobs his head, in acknowledgement of that. And he says, folk have all sorts of thoughts on the mad god. If they're not worshippers, that's all I need. They don't seem to be mad.
They don't. Is that what's happening to you?
No. I'm not clear on what's happening to me. But I have the overriding sense that I'm not meant to be clear on it. As if I agreed at some point past, they remain not clear on it. But I know I've got to get to Haitos. And I know I need to see a woman there. Her name's Thema Zokov.
Is this something you just know? Or is this something someone told you?
The background information would be nice.
I would.
We're probably going to get attacked by those things tonight, aren't we?
One might hope the storm will confuse him. 2 days passed. It was a bit clearer where I was coming from. Passed over a ridge. Saw what seemed an ocean of them. Hundreds, maybe thousands. If we're attacked by that, there's not to be done.
If they're chasing you, if we go to Haitos, what does that mean for them? What does that mean?
Don't rightly know. It's a bloody city, isn't it? We'll have fighting men. Do the world a service. They can kill all those beasts. But I can't account for that. I just know I have to get there. It's important.
We were heading up there anyway. I
We're
don't know
heading
when
there,
we're going
but
to be able to move. Are you saying you want to leave in this?
No, we haven't the strength between us, he says, with kind of a charitable look your way. But as soon as we can, we'll have to go. I only mentioned it since you said out there that you were going to hate us anyhow. It makes me uncomfortable to tell you. Can't see why on that exactly either. But I know I need to get there. You can see like the muscles in his jaw kind of clench a couple of times spasmodically after he says that.
Do a sense motive on him, please?
Sure. So +2, you said?
2.
Belnil, do you mind if I look you over? It must have been rough for you. Only with your permission, of course.
I'm alright. Not badly wounded. Just bashed around a bit. Keep to myself, it's all the same.
When you dove at me in the fight, what were you thinking?
Just thinking those bastards have a tendency to blow. As they did. Thought perhaps the one would kill the other, and at least help. But you were unsteady enough before that. You both come in to save me, without even me having the chance to ask you. So I thought I owed it to you. I know something about fighting those monsters.
I don't know if I believe in coincidence anymore. Have you heard of a thing called divine timing? You're lucky, aren't you? Like things just happen just the way you need them.
He says, today, aye, that's hard to argue. But not always, no. I'd put myself on the other side of the Dwarven gates if I could. All our great halls closed up, at the time when the world most needs us. Doesn't seem like a divine plan, and we know the fate of all the gods. If they had a plan that failed them,
I don't know what's happening or why. But I have to believe it's going to turn out alright.
his
Such
eyes
a
gleam for a
positive-
second. He looks back down at the floor.
It's going to be different. One day, somehow, it's going to level out.
You've been saying that for a long time, sister. It's hard to have faith. I wish I could look at the world the way you do.
Are there wash basins in the room?
There are not.
Well, Belnil, we are going to Hytos, and if I talk with my sister, I'm sure you can come with us, and we can leave in haste. But what information do you have to tell us? You need to meet this person. What has happened? Do you remember? Why you have this thought, this drive?
He licks his lips, and glances at both of you, and then back down at the floor. He shifts a little bit. The metal of his shield rim just scraping against the wall. He says, I don't know, but it doesn't trouble me. It should trouble me, I know.
Hmm.
I know where I was raised. I know under which mountain. I remember my parents. I remember some of the lads, my mates. I remember fighting. I remember patrolling the old ways. I remember the old tunnels of the Shadraheen. I remember much of my life, really. Before the cataclysm, that is. Not much since. Been a few weeks now. I know that. A few weeks of trouble. Don't remember where I started from. Had food for most of it. Water's not so hard to find, as you know. Clean water, maybe, but let a bit of the dirt settle out, that's good enough. I've known the past few weeks that I need to get to Hytos. That's where I've been bound. By any way I can, mostly overland, entirely on foot. I just need to get there. And have a sense that I agreed to it. And I agreed to the fog. And he taps kind of a meaty finger against his temple. He agreed to the fog as well. Wouldn't have done that if it weren't important. And seems to me that the only reason someone would do that is if they was worried about the mad god. Its followers can get into your mind, you know.
Hmm. Shamara gets up and crosses the room to him and kind of like,
In one step.
yeah, holds her hands up and like slowly like puts them on the sides of his head and like I want to do like move like really like look at his head.
Okay. Yeah, make a diplomacy check.
I go for that, and if he struggles, I use an intimidate check instead.
Okay. Go ahead and make an intimidate check then.
Dang. Missed out on 2 right there.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, you could have had both. You know, you should have rolled, and then that's how you got to do it. Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's true, but
Hey, when you're hot, you're hot.
Alright. Okay, so yeah, you stand up, go over there, and like hold your hands out slowly, but then like you kind of grab his head. He like starts to kind of tense and pull back, and I mean, Orden, you just hear like just a very faint, perhaps not entirely conscious growl from Shamara, and she just kind of takes a firmer grip on his head and just like turns it side to side, inspecting. Make a heal check, Shamara. Yeah.
okay.
Inspect his head for a few long moments. He's tense, but he doesn't, fight you off.
I let it go. And just
Okay.
same pace and kind of posture, back up and sit back down.
Okay.
Okay. It's weird, but what isn't right now? What about
He
the
kind of
lady who
rolls
said
his
hello
shoulders.
to us and just
Sorry, can
disappeared?
you say it again?
It's like, what about the lady who said hello to us, welcomed us to her inn, then just wasn't around anymore?
Hey, he rolls his shoulders a little bit, kind of, bobbing his neck back and forth, bobbing his head back and forth on his neck. Hey, take the chance at rest, though.
Yeah.
Just be across the hall, I reckon.
Yeah. Do we trust it enough to sleep in 3 separate rooms?
Do you trust it enough not to spread yourselves out?
Mm. Alright.
I don't think those are agents of the Archon. Maybe they could, and maybe they're sly. I don't know, Shamara. I know that I'd rather get sleep than do fucking watch tonight. I know that. If you think it's safer to do watch, then that's what we'll do.
Get
I'll
your
need
rest,
to
little
sleep.
brother. I need to sleep too, for sure.
Belnail stands up.
I need to sleep too.
Alright. Belnail gets to his feet. Expect we'll be needing all the strength we have. It's only a few short days to Hatos, but I expect the Mad God will make it hard on us. He, walks over, happened to step around a couple of Shamara's legs to get to the door. And he edges through it, and then he turns back. Do you guys just...
Before, like, as he's leaving, like,
Yeah.
Belnail. Yes, we are traveling there. And I think we would like to help you in some regard, but what's in it for us? You ask us to blindly fight hundreds or thousands of those things chasing you, with nothing at the end. This is what I ask for. What's at the end?
He blinks around a little bit, and he says, I'd like to tell you that I'll find a way to pay you. And I will. I will, if I can. Sorry, you should make a diplomacy check after saying that.
Oh, did a pretty good job.
You did a pretty good job, and then he's gonna answer it either way. But it's, again, the things you say are very important, but the X factor here is the skill.
Yikes. This is maybe I should just be dumber. Just one.
You're cursed, buddy.
My intellect.
Smart all the time.
Oh crap, hold on. I didn't do the D.
Oh, gotcha, yeah. You just did 20 minus 1. Okay. A little different. Got it.
Dude, I need one good roll. Foundry sucks, dude.
Okay. So...
Does he try and fight me at this
No.
point? Is he like, how dare you talk to me like that?
Right. Again, I mean, the things you say are more important, certainly. But yeah, I mean, he says the thing about, trying to pay you, and then he, like, hesitates and, kind of pats his, like, abdomen a couple of times and just looks around absently. I will see you rewarded, but all I can say is it's important. It needs doing, and it'll change something. And he looks at Shamara. I know it will.
Change something for the good.
Hey. And his eyes take on that kind of intensity again, before going a little bit confused. And he seems like on the verge of saying more, but he subsides back kind of into his kind of vague uncertainty. I just... needs to be done.
I'll think about what you've said.
Right. Well,
Get some rest, Belno.
just cross the hallway.
2 sharp wraps, you guys. If either of you gets in trouble. 2 sharp wraps. Do it again. 2 sharp wraps. I'll listen for that.
Belnail had started to turn away, and then he just kind of like nods at the ground when you say that. Nods again when you're done, and he kind of taps his own hand and just goes, "Right, yeah."
I'll do the same.
Goes over to the door and goes in there, closes it behind. Cool.
What do you think, sister? Wait, or Kira, have you staying? Or
Yeah,
did you say you
I
stayed,
closed
right?
the door behind him.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess we are going to Hightoes.
I know it's difficult for you to see things this way, but I do think that we ran into him for a reason.
Too quick to help. I guess I was there. What are we supposed to do? It's odd. You rub off on me.
It looked like just like one of the undead, didn't it?
It.
They're basically the same thing. These monsters, the undead.
If he's all,
It's not supposed to happen that way.
it scares me. Terrifying. Thousands of them. If they're following him, that means they're going to be following us. We need to be on point. Hopefully this storm passes us by and we get to Hightoes as quickly as possible.
It could be that the Mad God is driving this guy anyway.
Great. That'll put me to sleep. Following a prophet of the dead god. The Mad God. Well, we've got no option. I don't see. I mean, we leave him alone, but he'll follow us probably anyway. We're going to Hightoes.
He's going. We're going.
We're
And
going.
that's how it is at this time.
Well, get some rest.
We're on the same road. We may as well be on the same side.
You know, I'll follow you wherever you go. I might not like it. Too nice. Too fucking nice, but whatever. What am I gonna do? And I also have a secret handshake before we go to bed. So each time before we go to bed, we do it. But
Yeah.
I'll wait till you finish. So
Alright.
yeah, so it's gonna be we go like this, and then you're taller than me, and I put my head down, and then you put your head resting on mine. I don't know if you want to do that, but that was my idea.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
It's awesome.
So we'll do that, and then good night, Shamar.
Good night, Arden.
Alright.
Resetting my video
Yeah.
here really quick. There we go.
Alright. I think that's a reasonable place to pause. I know, low action type of session maybe, but making progress, and I always want you guys to have those moments to just explore as much of the environment as you want.